Hey guys, how you doing? This is me. Y'all know me. And then this is Art Thomas. He works with me at Victory Ranch. He's actually my boss. And I help work with him on some different other things. And he's been a big blessing to me as far as mentoring me in not only spiritual things, but also financial things. Just taught me a lot, pointed me in the right direction, and sort of been my mentor on that aspect. So one of the things that he has taught me, or kind of pointed me towards the idea of, is a concept called paying yourself first. So, we're just gonna ask him some questions on what is the concept of paying yourself first.
Okay, so the concept of paying yourself first is something when I first heard it, I rejected it because it sounds anti-biblical. And what I mean by that is, of course, we know as a Christian, I know that I pay my tithe first, right? And so when I heard the concept of pay yourself first, it sounds selfish, right? And so I just rejected it, and I didn't even look any more into it. And then I was listening to a seminar. I can't remember the guy's name, but what the concept is basically, and this guy described it in such a way that it made sense to me, and it just dialed in and boiled it down to this concept. And basically what it means is every dollar that you get, before you spend it, right, you need to set some of it aside for the single purpose of that dollar making more dollars. And so, and the concept was that if you don't pay yourself first, and what he means by paying yourself first, it means your future. You're paying for your future. You're putting money aside to help build something. And when I heard it in that light, it made a lot of sense to me, because God intends for us to be good stewards of our money and not just to squander it, and just waste it and have nothing left. Living paycheck to paycheck, I don't believe is God's plan for good stewardship. Okay. Right. So it's not about going after money and taking care of yourself and lavishing yourself with riches and stuff of that nature, but rather it's taking what God does give you and setting some of it aside for the purpose of creating more with it. And that's the concept of paying yourself first. I've called it different things, through the course of time that I've done it. And basically, I've called it, I've called it a business account. I've called it wealth creation account. I've called it venture capital. That's right. I called it venture capital when I first started. And basically that's what it is. It's just capital that you use to venture out and try to make more with it. And so that's the concept. And it's an old concept. And pretty much every wealthy person on the planet that's ever lived on the planet knows about this. Every good steward would know about this. And so when I learned it, I started implementing it, and man, my financial life changed drastically.
That's awesome. I think I've also read that in the book, The Richest Man in Babylon,
yes,
by George S. Clason.
Yeah, I think that's where it first started.
Good book.
Yeah.
So we basically discussed. So that's the concept, and that's why it's so important to put that aside to invest in the future. See, that's how you're implementing the concept, is just...
Well, how I implement it is, I had a hard time with it at first because I just had one bank account. And so everything that came into that bank account, there would be needs that would come up throughout the week or the month or whatever. And I would have to meet those needs, and I would turn to my bank account and think, well, there's money there, so I've got to use that to do it. So what I've done now that's really helped me is I've separated that money out into a completely different account. And so I make it hard for me to just have it readily available. I would have to either go down to the bank and get it if I had a particular venture that I wanted to invest in, or I would have to transfer the money over, and that takes 5, sometimes 7 days to actually get the money. And so when I take a percentage of every dollar. Okay, it's not And here's another concept that'll help you. It's not how many dollars you get, it's what you do with the dollars that you do get. And so I took, at first it was 10% of every dollar. And that was easy for me because as a Christian, I tithe 10%. So I understand that concept. And so I took 10% of every dollar that I get and I would put it aside into this particular account that I set up. And then I would wait for that money to accumulate to be able to do something with it. Started out, flipping cars. I'd buy, broke down cars and that didn't have too much work to do on them, and I'd fix them up and clean them up, and then turn around and sell them for a profit. And then I would do the same thing with the profit. I would replace the money, and then I would take the profit, and then I would take a percentage of that profit and do the same thing with it. So every dollar that you increase, you would take a percentage of it and set it aside for that particular purpose. And that's, in essence, the concept of paying yourself first.
Okay, that's awesome. And I know it's helped me a lot as far as to setting it aside. And because if you don't set it aside, like you said, you're going to have some other stuff come in and your money's going to go somewhere else eventually if you don't purposely set it aside. Just like you have to set your tithes and missions aside.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it'll just go somewhere.
Exactly. So when a need comes up, you can honestly say, I don't have it. I don't have the money for that. And that's a true statement. I don't have the money for that. I might have $10,000 over here, but that's not for this. That's for something else specifically. And so just learning how to be a good steward and budgeting in that regard. And and so I've done that over the course of time, and it's been a blessing.
Do you have anything else to add for our viewers? Or?
Well, I would say this. When you asked me that question earlier, the only thing I think of would be to do it now. Don't wait. Just start doing it. And that it was hard for me because it might seem insignificant, like maybe you only get $500, okay? And 10% of that would be $50. You put $50 in this little bank account. And at first it seems like an insignificant amount. But as you discipline yourself to do that over and over for every single dollar that you get, it will accumulate in such a way where you will have enough to actually venture out and do something that is profitable.
Awesome. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on and letting me interview you, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother.
So, thanks.